Hi, this is Gwen from Gwen the Trash Witch. Welcome back. Welcome to the last Sunday, actually the last Sunday of September, but also the last Sunday of this wonderful collab that I've been lucky to be a part of. This is for the Paper Bag Junk Journal Prompt Challenge 2025. And I'll put the tag in the description so that you can see everybody's last prompts for this wonderful collab. This is hosted by Paper Confessions with Cara Mia and BB's Closet Creations. So for these final prompts, we have number 22, Map to Your Heart. So some of these last prompts were a little tricky, keeping them in the King Tut Egyptian theme. So they might not be exactly what you might be expecting. So let's see. I ran out of pages, if you can believe it, and use these neat pockets that these paper bags created in the folding of making this journal out of paper bags. So, Map to My Heart, I was asked to have 5 things that I enjoy and love. So those of you that know me know that a very important part of my life is my dogs, and that's Captain down here and Jack, and I was able to get them when I retired, and they have just been by my side since the day I brought them home, and they are just so sweet, and they give me so much joy and happiness. So to try to stay in our Egyptian theme, I found this, I believe it's alabaster figure of an animal. I'm not sure if it's a cat or a dog that was found in King Tut's tomb. So their animals were very important to them, and their figures were also included in the tombs so that they would go to the afterlife with their owners. Number 2, besides my dogs, is my birds. So there is a picture of my bird Madsen. He's a sun conure, so I call him my son. He's a sweetheart. He's a talker. He's just a love bug. At the end of the night, he always whispers to me, night, night. So he's just so sweet. I love him. And also birds were very important in the ancient Egypt times. So there were some gold figures of birds, and the jewelry always had a lot of birds in the designs of the jewelry. So those are 2. You can tell I love my animals, but I also love my family, of course. And I just include my family that is my daughters, my 2 daughters, my sisters, my brothers, and of course, my ancestors. You know, I think it's important to remember who we are and where we came from. And I found this quote in the Egypt book, to speak the name of the dead is to make them live again. So I think it's important that we remember our family members that have passed. And I think of my dad all the time. He is such a part of me. I know he's with me. I hear his words words that he gave me growing up, his advice, his guidance. Every time I drive a car, I hear my dad telling me, you're too close, 3-second rule. So I hear him all the time. And then, of course, my wonderful friends. And they have been so amazing and supportive. And I don't know what I'd do without my friends. And I really, really speak more currently to my YouTube friends. They're in my life almost every day. We text, we chat, we FaceTime, we console, we support. It's just an amazing community we have here. And I have some wonderful neighbors that I have also become friends with. I've lived in this house now for 35 years, going on 36. And so they have become very dear friends also. And I thought this was interesting also from the King Tut book. It says that ancestors, you would put an offering table in the tomb or in your where you're living, and images of food such as meat and vegetables were carved on the top of the table, so they would be magically available for eternity. So I'm getting a shadow. Let's try the light, see if that helps. And the last thing in my life that is so very important is nature. And I'm so grateful for where I live. I can see trees on the hill behind me, which comes with all the birds. I had a wonderful murder of crows out there the other day that were just so loud, and they were playing in all the trees, and I just stood there and enjoyed them being there. And in some of the palaces of the walls in ancient Egypt, you were able to see a lot of nature and scenes of the natural world. And this was one of the scenes with these birds playing in the marshes along the Nile. So nature was definitely appreciated by ancient Egypt as well. So this is my card of the 5 things that are very, very important to me. And I also found this in the Egypt book, Best Friends Forever. And they've excavated an entire zoo's worth of preserved animals: cats, dogs, donkeys, lions, rams, hawks, shrews. They made mummies for these animals for many reasons, but mainly it was to have companions in the afterlife. And the pets were embalmed and entombed with their owners so they might reunite in the hereafter. So I think that it's obvious that animals and pets were very important also in ancient Egypt. So very interesting. Okay, so let's slip this back in this fun little pocket. Hope I can find everything today. It's all tucked away in these. Well, we will do that later. Okay, the next prompt is nature. So what I did for nature is I found some beautiful pages of the landscape of where the tombs were. This is the Valley of the Kings, where I believe it was 7 tombs were located. You can see the roughness or harshness of these hills. This was the god of the sky and the sun, so very important. Here's a little card with a sticker of the Nile on it. Very important to life and survival in this extremely dry climate. Here we have an archaeologist showing what it would have been like, or what it is like, to work in this climate along this these geographical landscapes. And again, just another picture. And I went ahead and sewed along this. And here I included some information about Carter, or someone that tried to follow in Carter's footsteps. And he said that, climbing the cliffs and taking so much time to be able to climb these areas to get to it. It says it's a desolate valley, and it is located on the west bank of the Nile, and the tombs were hidden in the valley floor or high up on the cliffs. So for nature, I just wanted to include the what the area looked like, where the tombs were, and where our ancient Egyptians were were living and how they were surviving. And along those lines also, it would not be complete if I didn't include information about the Nile, because it was so important to their survival and existence. They had boats and crops, and yeah, it was very, very much needed. Out of the river, it says the river was the giver. The mud from the river baked into bricks for their houses, and modern Egyptians still make them. The papyrus that grew around the river was used from everything from paper to boats to sandals. The seasons of the Nile divided the Egyptian calendar. They had 3 seasons that all were about the Nile and how it would go down and come up, and it was used for transportation. It ferried people, goods, and building supplies. So very important in their lives. Okay, and then we had whimsical. Excuse me. And I was like, oh no, what are we going to do for whimsical? So I had some fun with some markers and some colored pencils, printed out this fun image of King Tut's mask, and just had some play and made it whimsical. Did some doodling, and yeah, just enjoyed some time of coloring, and that was just fun. So that is my whimsical page. And then we had mood, and let's see, I'm gonna cover this up a little bit. For mood, I was thinking of when I first saw the King Tut exhibit, and it was back in 1978 when my brother took me to the LA Museum of Art, and how it affected me. And this was a wonderful picture I found on the internet from 1978. It was really fun looking at the hairstyles and the clothing and seeing the line. It went clear down the street. You had to have your tickets available or purchased beforehand. So this was kind of a nice reflection of what that day was like. I remember just my brother and I went. It was just so neat that he wanted to take me, and he thought it was important. He thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and fortunately he was wrong about that, because it did come back, and we were able, it was while I was teaching, and we were able to take the kids, and I hope that they got that same feeling of awe that I did when I walked in. So trying to recreate that mood or that feeling of going to the exhibit, I created these pages of gold, and I just wanted to try to share with you what it felt like to go into that exhibit and just all of the gold. It was just amazing. So on this page, I've added gold stickles, gold jewels, wink of Stella, anything I had that I thought can make this page just be amazing. So I thought it was interesting, the sandals. I should have written it down, but apparently King Tut had over 400 pairs of shoes. So yeah, he's a shoe guy. But after looking at the geography of Egypt, you can see why, you know, you definitely couldn't go barefoot. Okay, down here, which you can't really see because it's the flip down, I did find some quotes of some people that went to the exhibit in 1978. This person said, "I didn't know what to expect. It feels like you're in a myth." And this one said, "It felt otherworldly. I never imagined seeing history like this." And then just, wow, what an experience. And I put those on some pretty gold cards. So I thought maybe those words could express what it was like. It was definitely a wow experience. And fortunately, like I said, I was able to go back. And if it ever comes again, it won't be an opportunity that I'll miss, especially after doing this journal and doing a little more study, I will be able to appreciate everything even more. Okay, the next one is, that was mood and weather. What did I do for weather? It's got to be in one of these pockets. I guess it was this one. And it talks about how it was an extremely hot, dry place, and that the deserts help to keep things from decay. So I thought that was interesting. It actually does a mummification, and the remains are not petrified, but just mummified, so that they're easier to understand a little more of history. So the weather definitely comes into play in these desert areas. It says that the tissues are often preserved. It can show us their health, their diet, their ways of life. The parasites in the guts of the ancient Egyptians show the royal sanitation was fairly basic. So interesting. And there are some very dry, such as unfired clay, wood, papyrus. So the temperature of these areas definitely influenced how they lived and what we are able to get from them. Let's see, who's this one? Oh, I think this was just to show that even in this climate, there isn't too much erosion. So we are able to still see the pyramids and these wonderful, what would you call them, statues or memories of the time. So, okay, so the weather definitely helps on that. Okay, everything is sort of magazine that I've shown you. So that was prompt 27. For challenge, I do the Junk Journal Sketches Challenge. And for that challenge this week, I did do this card. And this was Junk Journal Challenge, I think, 98. So that was what I included in this journal. That was my challenge. And actually the challenge was working with paper bags, but it was really fun. But they aren't as forgiving as maybe some of our signatures would be. So it was kind of a challenge to make it work and get it to lay down and cooperate with some of the ideas I had. Okay, I think I'm checking to make sure I haven't missed anything. I think we're to the end. And it is to write a letter to yourself and gratitude. So I found this image. To me, this looks like she's showing some gratitude. And I made a little book in here. And I want to thank our hosts, Cara Mia and Bianca, and for inviting me as a guest collaborator. That was so very kind. Thank you so much. I had a blast, and I'm just honored to be a part of this. I want to thank all of you, the people that have come and watched me share this journal, and all my subscribers. You guys are wonderful. And I really, really give gratitude to YouTube for giving me a whole new purpose after I retired. You know, they always say you got to have a plan, you got to have a purpose. And jumping into YouTube has really fulfilled that. I'm busy, I'm happy and joyful crafting. I've met such wonderful friends that I've already mentioned. So a lot of gratitude to YouTube, as frustrating as it can be sometimes. And I want to thank my friend Ginger, my retired teaching friend, for gifting me all these wonderful books on King Tut and ancient Egypt. They were really the inspiration for how I picked my theme. And all my friends that supported me in this and bouncing ideas and having some good laughs, and yeah, they were wonderful support. And all the other guest collaborators and channels that have joined in. It has been so much fun to see what everyone is doing, and I've learned so much and picked up so many great tips. And of course, my family. I really want to thank my daughter Frankie for putting up with the mess on the dining room table and coming every time I call and say, does this look okay? Is this okay? So thank you to my family. I really appreciate you all. Okay, so that is my gratitude. Now my letter is back here in this little book, and I'm not going to read it to you. It's a little personal, but it's in here, and it mainly talks about just believing in yourself more, and when people invite you to things, to take those challenges and not be afraid of them, because there's so much joy involved in participating. I'm a fairly new channel. I am coming up on 2 years, so I need to get rid of that I'm new syndrome. And, you know, everybody's working at their skills and their abilities, and it's all wonderful. It's all creating, and it's all so important to have that in our life. So my letter is just kind of just a reminder to myself that, you know, nobody's perfect. Everybody is doing their best life, and it's just fun to create and fun to be a part of these. And I was kind of congratulating myself on finishing this up. So definitely thank you to all these people I mentioned, and for coming and viewing and subscribing and all your wonderful comments and support. I really do appreciate it, and it means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to all of us, or we probably wouldn't be here. You know, it's an important part of our life to be crafting in this way with paper and meeting our wonderful friends and participating in all that has to offer. Okay, Cara Mia reminded me this morning in her video that tomorrow is a final flip through, so it won't be as long as these detailed Sundays have been, but we will be doing a final flip through tomorrow. All right, friends, thank you so much. I love you and appreciate you, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.